All right, go ahead, please.
Okay, 6:49, the silence begins, 1926. The next day, they were given tea in the afternoon, and in the evening, all the Harajans were invited to a generous feast. Several days passed without a disturbing incident. In a good mood, on 20th April 1926, Baba composed this riddle and challenged the Mandali to guess the answer. It is a star with two mouths, a star like Cheyenne. There is air above, all good below. He is exceptional. He killed himself. Whose beloved is he? He who explains the meaning of this will be like Alexander and Dara. None of the Mandali. Sorry?
Dara was a Persian king and conqueror, similar in legendary stature to Alexander the Great of Greece.
Yeah.
Okay. None of the Mandali could solve the riddle, and Baba did not divulge.
No.
On 22nd April, Baba explained to the Mandali, remember the story about the parrot who was free from the beginning, but did not know what freedom meant. It was put into a cage, and inside there learned what the meaning of freedom was. When it was released, it fully realized its freedom and enjoyed it. Its freedom was taken away. It was put into a cage simply to make it conscious and give it the knowledge and experience of what was freedom. In the end, it came to know what freedom really meant, and hence know itself. In the same way, our body is like a cage, and our spirit is like the parrot. Hold on. I think I need to go back a bit.
It's okay, just start from the.
I think it's jumped too far. Is this where I'm at? Oh, sorry. I only have really good sight in one eye. So when it moves fast, I'm struggling to get back there. I'm sorry. In the same way, our body is like a cage and our spirit is like the parrot. If I were to tell you that you are Ishwar, brackets God, you would not believe it because your ridiculous idea of God is of some old man with a white beard watching you from an armchair in heaven.
Footnote says Ishwar is the name of God in the state of infinite unconsciousness.
You say to yourselves, how can I, a lowly human, be God himself? You are afraid of the very idea that you are God, but it is a fact. It is your ignorance of that knowledge, impressions of the mind that you are men, which prevents you from experiencing that you are God. For example, you can see things when awake, but in sleep, you do not see, although you still have eyes, because you cannot see during sleep. Does it mean you do not have eyes? No. The fact that you have eyes remains the same throughout, during wakefulness as well as during sleep. But this difference of seeing during wakefulness and not seeing during sleep is a difference in the state of the mind functioning. Suppose you have a core, bracket, 10 million of rupees. Okay. So I started, however.
Yeah.
Okay. However, you do not carry all of it in your pocket. That does not mean that you do not own the money and you are penniless. So I want you to know that every one of you is God, but you just do not know it. A week later, on 29 April 1926, Baba used the simile of a cup and saucer to explain that the body was only a means to liberation. Indeed, be well off in the world with your family and do your duties towards your family sincerely. But do not harbor the ambition and desire to earn more for the satisfaction of the wants of these 5 senses of the body. Earn as much as would be quite sufficient for the maintenance of your family, and strive and strain your body and work hard toward that aim. But do not make yourself a slave to your bodily passions by earning more than is sufficient and by wasting your surplus income on self-indulgent pleasures. Remember, this body is to be given up and shed. It is only given to you as a medium for you to know the self, i.e., for self-realization. The use of a cup and saucer is for drinking tea or water or milk. That is, the cup and saucer are a means for drinking tea. The moment the tea is drunk and emptied into your stomach, those means, brackets, the cup and saucer, are not to be put aside. In the same way, once you get realization, this body, which is only a means towards that aim, is to be given up. For what is the use of it then, brackets, after realization? On 30th April, a group of Hindu pilgrims passed by Meherabad, chanting loudly, Turaram, Turaram, Turaram,
Tukaram.
Tukaram, Tukaram, thank you. Tukaram, Tukaram, Tukaram. That sounds better. They were on a pilgrimage to Pend Harper. Hearing their chant, Baba remarked, even if those people were to dance and sing bhujans for 100 years, it would have no value. What is essential is deep devotion, without which all else is worthless. Tukaram comes out of their mouths, but he is not in their hearts. Baba nevertheless directed the mandali to feed the pilgrims. Without informing Naja, Sailor gave them some of the food cooked for the students, and what remained for the children was later discovered to be insufficient. Baba was furious and called Naja, lashing out at her for her negligence. Naja was quite perplexed and explained that she had cooked the same amount of food that she normally prepared. She could not understand how it was too little. Annoyed, Baba shoved Naja in the presence of others. Sailor then appeared and explained that it was his fault that he had given some of the food to the pilgrims. At this, Baba's anger turned on Sailor, and he dictated, "Why, for God's sake, did you not tell Naja to cook more food?" you Iranian idiot. Wow. Sailor meekly apologized for having forgotten to inform him. Baba ordered the Mandali to tie Sailor to a pillar and not give him food or water for 3 days. It appeared to be a dreadful punishment because it was the middle of summer and scorchingly hot. Accordingly, he was tied up, but Baba himself set him free after an hour or so and comforted him by giving him sweets. Baba and the Mandali's food was given to the children, and some additional amount was hurriedly prepared. Later, Gustaji commented that Naja was chastised unnecessarily. Baba did not appreciate his remark and explained, I chastise no one. What appears to be punishment is really prasad. Naja received my prasad today. Were it not so, Sailor would not have told the truth.
Baba had once said about his friend Kodu, because of Sailor's good deeds and past births and services to God, even if he committed 7 murders, he would be forgiven. Wow.
Wow. Okay. For nearly 5 weeks, from 29th March to 2nd May 1926, Baba stayed at night in the box cabin in Sai Darbar. From there, he wished to shift to the West Room in the abandoned stone water tank on Mehrabad Hill. This tank was a water reservoir dating back to the days of the British Army during the First World War. Baba explained in detail about his intended stay there. And on the evening of 3rd of May, the Mandali and school children followed Baba up the hill in a procession. Bhajans were sung and sweets were distributed by Baba. Then everyone returned to Lower Mehrabad, except for Jalabahi. I'm not sure.
Jalbai.
Say that again.
Jalbai.
Jalbai. And the boy Bal, who both remained with Baba for night watchman. In the quiet, solitary atmosphere, Baba continued writing his book in the water tank, while Jalbai and Bal took turns keeping watch outside. For 7 days, Baba did not leave the tank, but thereafter, he resumed his daily rounds of inspection at Lower Mehrabad. From morning until noon, he would write his mysterious book in the tank and again retire there in the evening to work on it. Regarding the contents of the book, he revealed almost nothing except that it contained spiritual secrets. During this stay in the tank, Baba remained unshaven, as there was no door to the west room of the reservoir. Baba had to enter by climbing an iron ladder to reach a small window opening 7 feet from the ground.
Thank you, Wendy. I believe Jalbai is Baba's brother, Jal.
Right. Jai Baba. Thank you.
All right, Rosalie, would you like to pick up here?
Yeah. On 14th May, Baba revealed to the Mandali, before the veil was torn asunder and I became God conscious, I experienced the greatest electric-like shock that created for some time severe, violent vibrations, which are indescribable. This was followed by intense darkness, and finally there was light. the greatest imagination fails to conceive of the idea of this effulgence, before which the light of the worldly sun is like a shadow of a drop of the infinite ocean of dazzling light. Similarly, the darkness I experience cannot be described. The world experiences darkness and light, but what I am talking about bears no similarity to these. Very few persons can see the real darkness and the real light. In the same way, very few experience real pain and misery, which begins with the longing to experience God and the intense suffering at separation from Him. Worldly pain and unhappiness are nothing but the outcome of mental weakness. In fact, no one in the world really suffers except those who thirst to have sight of the divine beloved. They feel like a fish flopping about out of water. On Sunday, 16th May, 1926, as he did each and every Sunday, Angal Pleader visited Meherabad and read from the Puranas to Baba, the Mandali and the boys. Angal mentioned that when he had recently gone to Kedgaon, met Narayan Maharaj and told him that he was devoted to Meher Baba. Narayan remarked, "I and he are one. By serving him, you are serving me. He is a Sat Purush, perfect one. He has been to me in the past." When people who were in contact with Meher Baba would visit Upasni Maharaj, Narayan Maharaj and Hazrat Babajan, and hear such expressions from these three perfect masters, their faith in Meher Baba would deepen. To some, Upasni Maharaj would even state emphatically, "What is there left in me? What is left here? Go to Meher Baba." At various times, all three masters would advise people who came to them to approach Meher Baba and follow him. In the 1920s, Meher Baba never publicly declared himself to be the avatar, but his masters, Hazrat Babajan and Upasni Maharaj, did reveal this to their devotees who informed others. A few weeks later, Baba explained, "Some masters are known to the public and some are unknown, but that makes no difference in their duties and workings. These go on as usual." Another page. This question of publicity depends generally on the circumstances during the master's lifetime. Take the instance of Babajan, Upasni Maharaj, and myself. There is a big difference. Babajan had no publicity given to her through books. Maharaj had none until the publication of his biography, while I have had publicity from the very first year of my public appearance at Meherabad. Every master has at least one master. In my case, I had two principal ones, one a Mohammedan and the other a Hindu. Now, the reason why I had two gurus, I was born in an Irani Zoroastrian family. This taking birth in a certain family and community, etc., is due to previous sanskaras. The sanskaras of a Zoroastrian are equal to those of a Hindu plus those of a Mohammedan. Maharaj has also said so, and we shall see why. I want to repeat that. Now, the reason why I had two gurus, I was born in an Irani Zoroastrian family. This taking birth in a certain family and community, etc., is due to previous sanskaras. The sanskaras of a Zoroastrian are equal to those of a Hindu plus those of a Mohammedan. Maharaj has also said so, and we shall see why. For instance, a Hindu who believes in the existence of only one God, in spite of so many Deva, Devis, and other higher powers mentioned in Hindu Shastras and scriptures, if he is not realized in that birth, his next birth will be in a Mohammedan family, as Mohammedans staunchly believe in the existence of one God and his prophet. Then again, a Hindu who is fond of eating meat and argues the doctrines of Hindu scriptures in that connection. Why should meat be prohibited and vegetarian food forced upon Hindus? And begins to partake of non-vegetarian food and spend time outside his community, he too will collect those sanskaras, which will give him birth in a Mohammedan family in his next life. Now let us see how the sanskaras of a Zoroastrian are equal to those of a Hindu and a Mohammedan. Zoroastrians believe, respect, and pay reverence to fire and the sun, both of which are also considered sacred elements among Hindus. Hence, Hindu sanskaras, hence Hindu sanskaras. But in spite of the Zoroastrians' belief, honor and reverence for the elements of nature, a Zoroastrian is a staunch believer in the existence of one Ahura Mazda as the creator of all universes, just the same as held by Mohammedans. Hence, Mohammedan sanskaras. Therefore, a Zoroastrian has the sanskaras of both a Hindu and a Mohammedan. It means that at this time, it was necessary that the master should be manifested in this Zoroastrian form, whose sanskaras are a mixture of Mohammedan and Hindu ones. And to drive away both types sanskaras, two masters were required, one a Hindu and the other a Mohammedan. It's fascinating. Wow. On 17th May, Baba came down from the hill at 10 o'clock and convened a meeting of the Mandali. A few days earlier, Pendu has stormed away from Mehrabad over some dispute and taken a long time to be persuaded to return. At the meeting, Baba dwelt at great lengths, impressing upon all the sacredness of their cause. the need for steadfastness and vigilance in duty, and personal control over desires and emotions.
Footnote, the combined diary of 17th May 1926 includes material from Padre Ajoba, Pandoba, Nardisha, and Chanji from August 1924 to August 1927. It was most likely written by Ramju sometime in late 1927-28. Talking about the combined diary of all the diarists.
Baba stated, I am not going to leave Meherabad without making the circle realized. But do not compel me to do so earlier by inattention and lethargy towards my instructions. I request you all with folded hands and fall at your feet, not to leave me and go away till I speak. Even if I scold you or show displeasure and disgust, don't stop doing your duties under any circumstances. Beware of lustful thoughts and actions and impulses of temper and anger. Follow my advice. It is for your own good. The contact of a saint, the service of humanity, and the repetition of God's name, these three combined, is the highest possible yoga and religious practice. If this much is done, every religion is observed completely. While serving the various sufferers and disabled people in the dharamshala and hospital, consider every one of them to be myself. Serve them with all your heart, and you will be serving me. One day, Baba warned the young men Mandali to be especially careful of lustful actions, telling them that if someone becomes too lustful, his lustful sanskaras of this birth give him the form of a cock in his next birth. That form is full of lust. It is a fact. Be full of lust, and you are sure to fall down and take the form of a cock.
In later years, Baba made it clear that once a human form is taken, there is never a return to the animal kingdom. So, joking, you might say.
In the afternoon, Baba remarked, Hafiz Divan is the best book in the world, as its poetry produces a feeling which ultimately leads to inspiration. Baba returned to the hill at 8 o'clock with a few of the Mandali. At times, instead of walking, Baba rode around Meherabad in the small bullock cart known as Chakta. Baba humorously christened it the Punjab Mail after a train in India. On 18th May, Baba instructed Vishnu to tell Chanji to tutor the hospital compounder's son for 2 hours. Vishnu did accordingly and thought he had fulfilled Baba's order.
All right, thank you, Rosalie. Mona, would you like to take over now?
Yeah. Where from? Is it from the
Go to
top?
the top. Yep, in the evening.
Can you hear me? Is it from the
It's from the
top?
top, although you started to break up a little there. Try
Yeah.
it.
In the evening, Baba asked him, "Did you carry out my instruction?" Can you just show me from where it is, if that's okay? I read from here. Okay. In the evening, Baba asked him, "Did you carry out my instructions?" Confident, Vishnu replied that he had done so, but no enquiry. Baba learned that Chanji had tutored the boy for only 1 hour. Baba then scolded Vishnu. "You made a grave mistake in following order."
Mona, your
Vishnu
internet is
protected
going
Chanji.
out a little
This
too
upset
much.
Baba and he ordered Kisan to
Yeah.
strike him. Baba with a cane 3 times for Vishnu's error.
We're
The
copying this. We better start over.
master's order had to be obeyed, and thou Kisan was
Mona,
hesitant. He
Mona,
struck
Mona,
Baba with
Mona, your
coming
internet, Mona, your
back.
internet is too breaking up too much. Okay, we're gonna have to have somebody else read it here.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sorry.
Rainey, would you like to read?
Did you say Wendy?
Rainey.
Rainy. Okay, sorry. I was like, oh.
Maybe a little bit later. She might be a
Yeah,
little
a
busy
little
right
bit
now.
later. I'm still busy. Thanks.
All right, I'll take over here. In the evening, Baba asked him, "Did you carry out my instructions?" Confident, Vishnu replied that he had done so. But on inquiry, Baba learned that Chanji had tutored the boy for only 1 hour. Baba then scolded Vishnu, saying, "You made a grave mistake in following my order." Vishnu protested that it was not, in fact, his mistake, but Chanji's. This upset Baba, and he ordered Kisan to strike him, Baba, with a cane 3 times for Vishnu's error. The master's order had to be obeyed, and though Kisan was hesitant, he struck Baba's outstretched palms with the cane 3 times. Meanwhile, Vishnu stood speechless. He was aghast by what he had witnessed. It became too much for him to endure, and he ran away, wandering about and weeping like someone gone mad. He could not control his emotions. Baba and Arjun ran after him, and it took them a long time to catch him and bring him back. Baba consoled Vishnu until he calmed down. During this period at Meherabad, none of the Mandali was chastised or beaten by Baba as much as Vishnu. Although Vishnu was a teacher, Baba would punish and humiliate him before his students. Even when another teacher was at fault, Vishnu would be the target of Baba's criticism. The Meherabad school had 2 types of teachers. Those who had surrendered to Meher Baba and were part of the master's circle did not receive any payment. The others were those who received a salary and taught because it was their job. However, because of Baba's presence, they too began loving him and in the end became his disciples. If one of his teachers were absent, Baba himself would take the class and teach the boys. On occasion, he also supervised the examinations of the boys. On the night of 18th May, Baba asked the Mandali, "Do I need anything?" Some replied, "No, you don't. Everything is contained in you." Others did not know what to say. Baba explained, "If I need anything, if I want anything, and if I require anything, then it is only love and nothing else." The next day, Baba asked Shagan a question, but when Shagan failed to give an immediate reply, Baba actually fell at his feet, remarking, "Henceforth, don't do any work, simply eat, drink, and loll about the place." Like Vishnu the day before, for a few moments, Shagan was taken aback and stunned that the master would bow at his feet. He too ran off toward the surrounding fields. Baba directed the Mandali to bring him back. All shouted at Shagan to stop, and it was Baba's orders that he returned, but Shagan did not even turn around. In fact, Shagan had run so fast that they had lost sight of him. The Mandali searched, but they were unable to find him. Baba himself then set out in a small horse-drawn tonga to look for him. The tonga was not able to traverse the rough terrain of Meherabad easily, so after some time, the horse was detached from the tonga, and Baba directed Rustam to go on horseback in search of Shagan. After much difficulty, Shagan was found 3 or 4 miles away. He was brought before Baba, who explained certain matters to him, and he was pacified, thus bringing the situation back to normal. Everyone, including Shagan, was exhausted from the chase, so Baba directed the men to relax for the rest of the day. In the evening, Baba played cricket with the Mandali and then went for a spin in a large motor vehicle to Shindawadi with a dozen of the men. While explaining about sanskaras, Baba stated, by keeping company with a God-realized being, a person's worldly sanskaras get burned up through the master's spiritual heat. That is why those near a Sadguru derive great spiritual benefit, and the merit of those who serve the master is indeed immense. But their contact could only be formed if you have good sanskaras and deep devotion, the preparedness of past lives. Whatever we are, it is because of our sanskaras. When we are completely free from the bindings of sanskaras, we realize God. Take the example of a ball of twine with many knots in it. The twine itself is in illusion because it finds itself bound by knots. The knots are the sanskaras, and the twine is the soul. Because the soul is unconscious of its own self as God, its attention remains focused on the knots. To be freed from its knots, it must take hold of at both ends and twist it in the opposite direction. Then all the knots will automatically come undone. The instant the twine is free of knots, it becomes conscious of the reality that it is twine, or soul, and not knots, sanskaras, which had formed a snare of the body and mind. At first, the soul had no real knowledge of its freedom, but now it knows itself. Who is it who can twist the twine in the opposite direction and make it free of knots? It is the Sadguru. If one were to exert force and try to pull the knots apart, there would be the risk that the twine would break. To come down after realizing God, the twine must be preserved intact. Otherwise, the abrupt and haphazard breaking of the threads here and there to clear its intermingling would render the person unconscious after realization, and he would be a majub, conscious of God, but unconscious of the world. So it is best to surrender yourself to a perfect master who then takes upon himself the responsibility of eradicating your sanskaras and emancipating you. Once you surrender to him, it becomes his duty to lead you toward knowledge and God realization. One of the Mandali then asked, but why don't you do something tangible for us? Baba replied, my working for you is always there, and the easiest way to reach the truth is to surrender to a perfect master by breaking off all connections with the world. As Jesus said, give up all and follow me. The master's working to detach those in his contact from worldly entanglements is always happening. His inner secret work is incomparable to the work he does openly. Explaining about miracles, Baba pointed out, it is child's play for a Sadguru to make the dead come alive, and it is of no importance to him as he has to work for the whole universe. He works only at the proper time for the good of the world. A rupee coin is shown to a feverish child, and he is told that if he takes quinine, The rupee will be his. Succumbing to the temptation, the child takes the quinine, but as soon as he reaches for the rupee, it is snatched away. The reason for this is that the rupee was only a means to make the child take the medicine so that his fever would lessen. In the same way, performance of miracles is necessary to attract the worldly minded toward truth. They are done only for the benefit of the world. If I were to ask Henry Ford to come over here and do what I tell him to do, would he do it? Never. Footnote. Henry Ford was the American founder of the Ford Motor Company. Okay. Was that 3 pages? I think.
I think so.
Okay, Rainey, you ready to read?
Yeah.
All righty, go ahead, kiddies.
But if I were to make a 1,000-year-old corpse come alive before his eyes, he would jump at the chance to stay here and wash my clothes. The blessing, sight, word, and image of a Sadhguru are very weighty. So what can we say about the actual contact and company? He is the luckiest person who has the chance of sitting beside him, taking with him and listening to his discourses, talking with him and listening to his discourses. It is such an important thing that you will never fully understand it, though in comparison with the world, you find yourselves in a difficult situation. This is still the only definite and easy way. It is the way by which the Sadhguru takes you towards emancipation and frees you from the net of Maya. You take food with your mouth, digest it, and pass the excrement through your rectum. You know this, but does a stone know what is a mouth and what is a rectum? You would never try to eat with your rectum. It would be despicable to try to do such a thing. In the same way, the Sadhguru knows perfectly the path by which to take you towards God realization. So he knows what sort of food you should eat, when to give it, and where to give it. You yourself do not have the slightest idea about this kind of thing, and in this respect, you are no better than stones. Once you catch hold of the Sadhguru's feet, you must try your hardest to hold on to them and to never let them slip from your grasp. Only then are you safe. God is in the right hand of the Sadhguru. Maya is in the left. God realization is in his right foot, and miracles and illusion are in the left foot. If his right heel is pressed down, the point is directly affected. If a Sadhguru places his right hand on the head of someone intended to bestow on him God realization, the person receives it instantly. At Shahan's house the following day, 20th of May, Baba further explained to the Mandali about the external signs of a Sadhguru's internal work. When a Sadhguru's right hand and right foot are active, it signifies spiritual help for the person concerned to aid him in realizing God. Similarly, his left hand and left foot denote material happiness or miracles. For those who have faith in a Sadhguru, miracles happen. For those who have faith in a Sadhguru, miracles happen automatically through the medium of Maya. But the circle members should not hope for such miracles because the Sadhguru himself is working for them. Later at 8:30 p.m., on his way up the hill, Baba stopped by Gustaji's summer quarters.
The footnote says Gustaji was sleeping outside, probably due to the heat, perhaps on the post office veranda.
Barbara explained about the spiritual planes and heavens. The spiritual planes and heavens are quite different. The planes have no colors, but the heavens or skies have the following colors. The first sky is blue, the second is yellow, the third is red, the fourth is white, the fifth is black, the sixth is green, and the seventh is colorless. In fact, the seventh plane and the seventh heaven are one and the same. Yogis, musts, walis, and pirs traverse and pass through the skies, but one who is destined to become a Sadguru or a Kutub advances through the plains. Their passage through the plains lies in darkness, meaning that those who travel through the plains have no consciousness of their advancement. Those who pass through the skies do so in light and are conscious of their progress, experiencing the wonderful experiences and awesome powers of their progress as they go. But the plains are much higher compared to the skies. Those on particular planes can, if they wish, go into the corresponding skies. For example, a fifth plane pilgrim, a wali, can enter the fifth sky, but those yogis or musts in the skies cannot go in onto the plains. But you all have nothing to do with this. Just remember that God is the sum total, the essence of each and everything. On the afternoon of 22nd May, a dust storm swept through Meherabad. The strong winds rattled the doors and windows and blew dust and debris everywhere. The Mandali were afraid that the tin roofs of the temporary structures would be blown off in the fierce whirlwinds. No one had ever seen a storm like this. Eventually, some tin sheets were torn off the roof and flung some distance away. Amidst all the uproar and din of the wind, Baba called for the gramophone. Surprisingly, as the first record was being played, the gale subsided. At 4:30 on Sunday, the 23rd of May in 1926, Baba left in a bus with 14 of the Mandali to attend the wedding of Rahuri, a relative of one of the Ahmednagar Brahmin devotees, S.N. Nagarkar. Baba instructed the men to fast and explained, "You will have lots of laddus to eat in Rahuri, so it is better if you do not eat anything before we reach there." On the way, though, Baba changed his mind and asked the bus to be halted in Dheri village, where he sent Arjun to beg for some food. Arjun tried but failed to obtain anything substantial except chapatis. However, one poor Christian brought rice and dal. Baba ate a little and handed the rest back to the man to finish. They then went to the shop of a Marwari who gave them some achar, pickles, and the Mandali ate the achar with the chapatis Arjun had obtained while he was begging. Teasing them, Baba remarked, "Don't eat much. Remember, we have to do justice to the laddus at the wedding feast." They arrived in Rahuri at the time of the marriage, and Baba was received with due reverence. But when the wedding was over, no laddus were offered, though Baba was reverently garlanded and each of the Mandali was presented with a bouquet of flowers before departing. The group went back to the bus and Baba exclaimed to Daki, "Where are the laddus?" The men all laughed and Daki told Baba he would arrange for their food. His relative D.W. Chobe lived in Rahuri and he went to him asking him to prepare supper for the group in 1 hour. The doctor agreed most willingly. They went to his residence and the Mandali not only had very tasty food, but laddus as well. It seemed that Baba had actually come to Rahuri only to meet this devout soul, Dr. Chobe, who received him so lovingly. Gul Mai's husband, Khan Sahib, was not particularly drawn to Meher Baba, but he did not prevent his wife and children from becoming dedicated to the master. But his brother-in-law, Sarosha's father, Elder Kakushru, although initially cordial, became adamantly opposed to Baba, believing that Baba's contact had brought nothing but trouble to his family. And if Sarosh went to visit Baba, his father would become extremely annoyed, and so Sarosh had to keep his visits secret during this period. However, Sarosh's father came to know of his visits through a man who spied for him, who was working at Meherabad. At the time, no one knew who carried information to Elder Kaikushru. But on Baba's hint, they questioned a local villager named Jamadar, and he admitted the truth.
Jamadar's real name was Rup Singh Ganesh Singh Gansade. He worked the rest of his life at Meherabad.
Baba allowed Jamadar, 39, to stay on the property and hired him as a chowkidar, night watchman, in this way. His association with the Sarosha's father came to an end.
Mango, your turn.
Okay, page 661. Jamadar proved so faithful a worker that he served at Meherabad from 1925 onward for nearly 45 years, and his wife was later appointed to help the women Mandali. During 1922 in Pune, Baba had told Sarosh that he would make him a king. After leaving Manzil-e-Mim, Baba advised him to open an automobile shop in Ahmednagar. Sarosh's business prospered. He became quite influential and was elected mayor of Ahmednagar more than once. But no matter how influential he became, Sarosh remained faithful to Baba his whole life and held nothing back in serving him. One day a herded Muslim man dressed as a fakir came from Ahmednagar. He had been pretending to be an advanced soul and said to Baba, "If you are pleased to allow Khan Sahib to give me an automobile, I will tell you of a cure for your leper patients at Meherabad." The hypocrite saint was taken to task for his effrontery. Baba wrote on the slate, "I am an all-round doctor, a doctor of all diseases. I prescribe whatever medicine a patient needs. I am treating lepers most successfully. But how can you understand this? When you treat them, why don't they get well?" asked the fakir. "How can you know if they become well or not? Within their ugly, distorted bodies, light shines. You cannot see that light. You only see the cages of their unsightly bodies." The charlatan arrogantly insisted that Baba order his devotees to give him a car. Baba strongly rebuked him, gesturing to him to leave. Soon after, Baba himself went to Ahmednagar and met Kabasji, Kabasji, a devotee of Baba's, at Khan Sahib's garage, Sarosh Motorworks. The naive man had been greatly impressed by the fakir, and Baba sternly warned him about such scoundrels. Staying and working at Meherabad, Dr. Karkal was deeply impressed with Baba's acts of compassion and became very drawn to the master. He worked selflessly in treating patients at a hospital and those afflicted with eye ailments, which were frequently found among the schoolboys and the other dispensary clients. Once an old man with cataracts came to Meherabad. Karkal informed Baba that he could perform the operation to remove them if surgical equipment were ordered. Baba agreed to supply the equipment. Meanwhile, the patient stayed at Meherabad and was fed well to strengthen him for the operation. The surgical supplies arrived and a separate eye hospital was opened on 25th May at Meherabad. Padri and Pendu were the doctor's assistants. When the cataracts were removed, the old man's sight was restored, and the first thing he asked was, "Who is Meher Baba?" On being told, he ran and fell at Baba's feet, weeping in gratitude. In the evenings, he would sit by the mess quarters with Pendu and Padri, who, to test his newly restored sight, would ask him how many bullock carts there were on the road, or how many railroad cars on a passing train. With happiness, he told man answered their questions correctly. He did not wait at Meherabad until glasses could be made, but soon left happily saying, "I can see now, I can see." Many people took advantage of the medical facilities offered at Meherabad, and several had their eyesight restored, thanks to Meher Baba's generosity. On 22nd and 27th May 1926, Baba explained, "If someone were to ask me who's greater, Tukaram or Ishwar, means God, Zoroaster or Ahura Mazda, Jesus or God the Father, I would answer emphatically that Tukaram, Zoroaster, and Jesus are greater. In fact, they are the greatest of the great because by being a Sadguru or the avatar, they render infinite service to the universe and suffer infinitely by taking upon themselves the burden of the world's infinite amount of samskaras, which God does not do since he is not conscious of the world. Undoubtedly, a conscious divine person such as Tukaram or Zoroaster, compared to the unconscious of the world, formless Ishwar or Ahura Mazda, is definitely greater. Zoroaster was actually God in human form. In order to work in creation, he had to come down as man among illiterate, fanatical, and hot-tempered humanity. Had Zoroaster told them to worship him, they would have denounced, harassed, and murdered him. They would have thought him an enormous, egoistic, and absolutely crazy. They would have thought him an enormous egoistic and absolutely crazy.
Egotist.
Huh?
Egotist.
Yeah, you're right. Egotist. Enormous egotist and absolutely crazy. So he taught them to pray to formless God. But in reality, by worshiping formless God, they were worshiping him. And consequently, they gained the impression that Ahura Mazda was greater than Zoroaster. Likewise, Jesus did not only claim that I and my Father are one, but he also had held out the possibilities of that blessed union for all who could do away with lust, avarice and anger. And he also advised meditation upon the Almighty with love. Baba then used the simile of studying at different levels of education to illustrate the different routes to the truth.
Thank you, Mahu.
Sure.
Elizabeth, are you reading today? Or Jai? Apparently not. Okay.
Marianne.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I was muted.
Oh,
Um,
good.
where do you want me?
Marian's not gonna read today unless she changes her mind.
I
But
see.
go ahead, Elizabeth. You
Okay.
are up.
Where am I? The silence begins, the foremost and highest object. Is that right?
Yep, that's it.
Okay. The foremost and highest object in life is personally serving a Sadguru and complete surrenderance to him. There is nothing like it for one's divine upliftment. The second is constant meditation on the divine name. The third is selfless service, and the fourth is the offering of worship, prayer. Serving a Sadguru and following his orders to the letter in all matters is like taking a course for a master's degree. The constant repetition of the Almighty's name done with love is like studying for a bachelor's degree. Once one attains the bachelor's degree, it does not take much time to attain the master's degree. Performing selfless service to humanity without the least selfish motive is like obtaining a high school diploma. And offering prayers, observing rituals and ceremonies, the dry drills of religious injunctions or shariat, is like learning the alphabet. On the 22nd, Baba also explained to the Manjali, for those who have a Sadguru or Guru, they have only to surrender to him heart and soul, and to obey and carry out his orders to the letter. That's all for them. Although that too is difficult because such people are generally in a very awkward situation. On the one hand, worldly material attachments attract them, and on the other, the guru draws them toward himself. Their state is like that of the man who has two wives. Of course, eventually, it is the Sadguru who prevails, who pulls them out of the clutches of Maya and who frees them. In spite of that, the powers of Maya are no less formidable. Indeed, her allurements are tremendous and very hard to overcome. Despite all my explanations and warnings, if a beautiful lady happens to come here suddenly and stands by the door, you all will surely gape at her. This is forgivable at present because you are under Maya's control. You all have bodies and are attracted by Maya, but I tell you, try your best to get free of the bindings and clutches of Maya. Suppose there is a person without any teeth. If sweet sugar cane is brought to him, what would he do? Although he cannot enjoy the pleasure of chewing and eating the sugar cane, he would at least wish to taste it and would say with all sincerity in his heart, "Would to God I had teeth." In just the same way, an old man, though unable to enjoy what would at least be attracted by a beauty standing near him and would say, "Would to God I were young." This too is becoming entrapped in the attractions of Maya. And how can one be freed from Maya's clutches? Only by the grace of a Sadguru. If one surrenders to and serves the Sadguru with all his heart and soul, the Sadguru will burn up and destroy all one's Maya in a moment, in as much time as it takes to light and burn a match. The Sadguru has such great powers, but one must be prepared for and deserving of this grace. Otherwise, you may continue in your rounds of births and deaths for ages, and there would be no whiff or breeze of truth for you. Not only will the Sadguru destroy all Maya in you, but he will free you from these ceaseless rounds of births and deaths, and will enable you to see God in an instant with a tap on the head. What idea have you of the powers of a Sadguru? None at all. Your hands are now tied by the clutches of Maya, and these hands must be released. If one who is tied presents himself before another whose hands are also tied like his own, he would never be free. But if he presents himself before the one who is already free, the one in bondage would be freed immediately. A swine lives mostly on narka, refuse. Even if you throw the best of foodstuffs or something invaluable before it, it would still prefer filth and refuse first. Only after eating these would it think of partaking of anything else. In other words, it would prefer the best last. Even if you throw pearls before it, it would still say, "Let me eat the refuge first, and then I will see to these pearls." Here, the pearls represent the path of realization. Your human state is like that of the swine who prefer refuse to pearls. In spite of my showing you the pearls of the path of realization, you are still attracted and drawn toward the narka of Maya. For whom are these pearls meant and destined? For the royal geese. You are all advancing in the direct line. Realization shall be given to those who deserve it and to whom it is due to be given. If there is the Guru's grace, the realization is the work of a moment, a tap on the head, and bliss, eternal bliss. Even if I explained to you for ages, you would never even get an idea of that bliss. It can't be understood without experience. Giving other examples to the Mandali, Baba continued to write on his slate. Take this makan we are sitting in as the house of God realization. There are so many boxes, vessels, lanterns, and other things in it. Now suppose you have not seen any of these things and do not know anything about them. How could you get an idea of what they are? There are two ways, either by explanation or by seeing them, that is, by experience. The way of description, definition, or explanation is very difficult and lengthy. But suppose you were brought blindfolded into the house, and once inside, your blindfold was removed. Then you could see the things for yourself and would know exactly what the house contained. Take another example. Say you were to blindfold an illiterate villager of Erangel and take him to New York City. When you remove the blindfold, he will be amazed at the things he sees, things he never dreamed existed. Carriages, motor cars, trams, trains, and all such humdrum of city life would make him stare blankly all around in amazement. Explaining these things to him in Erlangen would have been futile, even if you'd tried to explain them to him for years and years, because he could not have understood. But by seeing New York for himself, he knows all about it in no time. In the same way, even if I died explaining all things to you, you would still be where you are today, but experience will give you the knowledge. God realization, if possible, God realization is possible. However, your eyes are blindfolded and you have no idea what it means. For although I sincerely offer you the priceless pearls of Sat Marga, the path of truth, you go and dip your mouths in the Narka. So the duty of the Sadguru is, first of all, to relieve and free you from the venomous clutches of Maya, and then to give you the experience. Leave everything, meditation, spiritual exercises, the repetition of God's name, everything which is a burden to you. These practices will only confuse you more. What is the use of even going to a mazhu when he is immersed in eternal bliss and unconscious of the world and its affairs? Next page.
Okay. Start us off again from the top.
Okay. All right. Nothing is obtainable without the grace of a Sadguru. Once you have surrendered yourself to a Sadguru, he has to do his duty toward you. He cannot escape that. Thereafter, it is only your unbounded love and unswerving faith that is required, and these will encourage him in his duties towards you. So take your Guru to be your God, and with all love and faith, surrender to him and serve him. Then you will be saved. Then you will be saved. What you now need is love and faith. On Saturday, 29th May 1926, Upasni Maharaj's 56th birthday was celebrated with great reverence. The school was closed for 3 days, and almost 4,000 people were fed in Maharaj's honor. Baba was bathed and he distributed sweets as prasad. Anjay Pleader read selections from the Puranas as usual, and Swarlaram sang bhajans. In the evening, a palanquin procession slowly made its way up the Mehrabad hill, and fireworks were lit. The next day, a sports competition was held for the school children, and on the following day, a debate between the students took place under the presiding guidance of Mohan Shahan. On 30th May, Baba scolded one of the Mandali, but the man spoke back to him instead of keeping quiet. This caused Baba to explain to all the Mandali, "Why do you get angry so often? You frequently break my orders. Then, if I have anything to say about it, you get annoyed. Thereby, your attitude adds to my burden. One's degree of connection with a perfect master in past lives makes one eligible for the master's circle, whether he is willing or unwilling to obey. But to ease the master's burden, one should follow his orders. By your wrong attitude, you add to the master's troubles. Suppose I want 2 of you to journey with me. One is unwilling and does not budge an inch. the other willingly goes. Both must be taken at the same time to the same place. Whereas one can be taken easily, the other must be taken with difficulty. At times it comes to this. For my work, the one resisting has to be shouldered and taken forcibly by me. While shaving you, the barber moves your head from side to side, which you permit because you need a good shave. Similarly, if you want God, you should surrender body and soul to the perfect master and carry out every word of his.
Okay, Rosalie, pick it up, please.
The waters of a river are for the use of the populace. The containers the people bring to fill with water are large or small according to their needs. In the same way, the Sadhgurus have come down to this world for the sake of duty and only to give in true charity from the vast and inexhaustible store of unbounded bliss, knowledge, and experience they are masters of. They are the storehouses of knowledge and unlimited blessings. Those who have merit can come to them and take as much as their containers can contain. From Chandra Gadakar, who was staying at Meherabad at the time, had recently taken his college exams. On 31st May, Baba informed him, "You have failed in your exam." The young man was crestfallen and tears welled up in his eyes. To console him, Baba called for sweets and distributing them among all declared, "This is to celebrate Gadakar's failure in his exams." But moments later, news was brought from Ahmednagar that Gadakar had actually passed his test. Gadakar's unhappiness turned into a smile of relief. At tea time in the girls' school later that day, Baba explained the meaning behind the Indian custom of offering a coconut to saints and holy personalities. The coconut can be divided into 4 parts, 3 outer coverings and the water inside. Each represents something different. The outermost fibrous hair symbolizes the gross body. The hard husk or shell symbolizes the subtle body. The kernel or white portion inside symbolizes the mind. The water inside symbolizes God realization. There are 4 steps in taking the water out of the coconut. The first is to remove the fibers. The second is to crack the shell. The third is to open the kernel. And the 4th is to extract the water. When opening a coconut, people usually resort to such ordinary, slow, successive actions. But at the time of ceremonial and sacred occasions, when the water is sprinkled in worship, the whole coconut is smashed to pieces in one stroke against the wall or the floor. Each of the 4 steps has a spiritual significance. The act of taking the fibers off the coconut can be compared to the act of discarding the body and its gross sanskaras. However, with the elimination of the gross body, the subtle body becomes active. The subtle body is like the hard coconut shell that is then smashed.
Okay. Rainey, you want to read one page?
With the removal of the gross and subtle bodies, the fibers and the shell, the mind, the kernel, is left. Finally, with the annihilation of the mind, God, the water, is found. Phew. I'll read that again. With the removal of the gross and subtle bodies, the fibers and the shell, the mind, the kernel, is left. Finally, with the annihilation of the mind, God, the water, is found. Removing every coconut fiber is like obliterating or removing the individual qualities of Maya one by one. But even after removing all the fibers, eliminating the whole body and the gross sanskaras, Maya remains in the form of the subtle body, the shell, and the mental body, the kernel. Even after smashing the shell, effacing the subtle body, the kernel remains. The mind continues to experience creation. By removing the kernel, only the water, God realization remains. To attain God realization, successive elimination of the three coverings, gross, subtle, and mental bodies, is necessary, which means total annihilation of all three types of sanskaras. This successive termination takes place gradually in the ordinary course of evolution over not just centuries, but generations and ages and ages. Only the Sadguru has the power to make a person God realized all at once, within the twinkling of an eye. Only he can smash the whole coconut at one stroke and annihilate Maya and the mind. So the offering of a coconut signifies the absolute surrender of body and soul by the one who offers. Let all who offer these realize this significance and surrender themselves heart and soul to the saint or Sadguru. Continuing, Baba repeated what he had said earlier about sahavas with the master. According to the sages, there are three different roads to realization. The first road, which is the shortest, quickest, and the easiest, is the contact of a Sadguru, which means keeping the company or sahavas of such a master, obeying him and serving him. This may be compared to a special express train which carries you straight to your destination. The second road, which is to be undertaken in the absence of a Sadguru or a spiritual guide, and which is easier than the alternatives, is to take any name of God with all love and wholeheartedness and to do jana seva, service to humanity, selflessly to the best of one's ability. This can be compared to a journey by a passenger train which halts at almost every station. Then the third road. The third road, which like the second is to be undertaken in the absence of a Sadguru or spiritual guide, but which is much longer and harder, is to observe strictly all the rules and requires of the Shariat laws of religion. It means performing all the rites and ceremonies of one's religion wholeheartedly and sincerely rather than mechanically.
Okay, thank you everyone for the reading today. We will pick up next week at this page.
It's amazing Baba did this all by gesturing or on his board.
Jai Baba.
Who's host right now? Somebody's
It's
host.
still recording.
Oh my gosh. Okay, I'm leaving. Bye.